Good morning, everybody. I want to start this lesson, in today's lesson. I'll be taking through the functions of Dbms. In the previous lesson, we've been able to see the various components of a Dbms environment. And apart from the Dbms environment, we've been able to look at the role played by the various players in the Dbms environment. And I believe that assignment is fully done, because we agreed that everybody look at those roles that are played by the various individuals within the Dbms environment. So today I want us to look at the functions of Dbms, and if time allows, we're also going to look at the components of Dbms. The Dbms has several functions, and I believe when you're defining the Dbms, we said it will allow us to be able to create a database, also retrieve information from the database, manage the database, and also define the database. But apart from those broad functions of the Dbms as we saw them in the main, or as we are doing with that lesson, the Dbms have other functions. So the first function, number one, is data storage, retrieval, and updates. This is the basic, that a database must be able to furnish the users with the ability to store, retrieve, and update data in the information, or that is data in the database. So it will allow you to be able to input data. It will allow you to be able to input the data, be able to get data from the database, and also make some update on the database. And this is a basic function that we have already, maybe in our previous lessons, discussed on how data is stored, or the various components that will assist the database, or the various facility of Dbms that will assist it to be able to accomplish these functions, or this function. The other function of Dbms is to provide an accessible catalog. We said we have that a database not only contains the data, or the operational data, it also contains the description of this data. We refer to it as the system catalog. We refer to it as the data dictionary. We also refer to it as the data defined, or metadata. So the database must be able to store, or must be able to store that data, and must also make it to become user accessible, so that the users will be able to access the data, avoiding the program data dependence that as we found it in the file system. So the Dbms must provide, or must provide this catalog, or the system catalog to the various users whenever they require it. The other function, number 3, is that maybe before I get to function number 3, apart from the we may maybe list some of the data that is stored, or some of the information that is stored in the system catalog. It is very important that this system catalog, or the metadata, may include the names, the types, and the sizes of the various data items. I believe this one you found it in your module 1 in Access, able to define the name of the tables, the name of the columns, the types, the sizes, and so on. It may also, the information may also include names of relationships. I don't know whether you're able to make in your Microsoft Access, able to name the relationships. So this metadata includes names of relationships. They may also include what you call integrity constraints. These are about the primary keys, the various keys, and also the user-defined constraints. And also all the keys that are there must also be included. It may also include information about names of the authorized users who have access data, and what can they do with those data, the data. Remember, the Dbms provides a user accessible catalog. So the catalog may contain all this. The catalog also contains the data items that each user can access, and also the types of access that is allowed. Can this person is allowed to make changes on the data, insert the data, update, delete, or it is only read-only access? And in most cases, in most of the database, most of the users have a read-only access. Then it also contains the internal or the external and the conceptual and the internal schemas of the, that is the internal schemas, and the mapping between these schemas, as we shall describe them in the section 2.1 of our study. Then the metadata also includes usage statistics, the various transactions that have been done, how frequent have they been done, and so on, which are very important wherever whenever you are working with the database. So all these forms the metadata, and the Dbms must be able to provide these metadata, and the metadata should be user accessible. It not be it is not be restricted from being accessed by the users. Some of the benefits that comes with the system catalog. One, the information of data can be collected and stored centrally, and this will help maintain and control over the data as a resource. So the system catalog, or this user accessible catalog, has several benefits that will help the users be able to, whenever it is stored centrally, it will maintain the control of the data. The other benefit, that the meaning of data can be defined, which will help other users understand the purpose of that data. For example, if you have defined a number as or that is a certain field as a number or as a currency, whoever is using that your database will be able to understand this is supposed to be currency and it's not supposed to be just a number. So that definition will help the users understand the purpose of those data. Communication, especially design communications, are communicated easily because the exact meanings are stored with it. So you can do what? Know exactly what you're supposed to do, what are you allowed to do, and so on. Then the system catalog will do away with the inconsistency or the data redundancy. Remember, we have said one of the components of the catalog is the integrity constraints. Integrity constraints will assist us be able to do away with the redundancy or unnecessary repetition of data, which will also in turn lead to outdoing this consistency. It will also help us record the changes. Remember, one of the metadata you're storing is those transactions that have been made. So any changes to be on the database, we have a record, and whenever I want to undo those transactions, we're able to do what to do away, or rather is to know what changes really took place. The impact of the change can be determined before it is implemented, because the system catalog has all the data that you require. So before any change can be done, then it is possible for us to do what, to determine or predetermine what the change will impact the system. Then you have security can be enforced. after, if you're able to define who can access the data, what can they access, be able to enforce the security. And remember what he said about the views. So the system catalog will assist us have a record of those views and be able to do what? Be able to enforce them. Then integrity can be assured because you have already stored the integrity constraints, and you can, whenever they are stored, you can always be sure that they'll be they'll be done or they'll be enforced, or those constraints will be enforced since they are together with the data. And finally, the audit information can be provided. Remember, you said that one of the components is that those transactions that have been done. And whenever you want to do an audit trail, or you want to do an audit of the whole transactions have taken place and so on, you can always find them in this, or that is in the system catalog. So that's function number 2. The other function is transaction support. The system must be able to furnish the users with support on how to carry out transactions. And transactions are usually is a series of transactions or a series of actions carried out by a single user or applications which accesses or makes changes on the database, or the changes on the content of the database. So whenever you want to access the database, whatever those actions that you're going to take for you to access the database or information on the database, and also maybe make some changes, is what we call transactions. So the database must provide a method or a way to support these transactions, and also to store them, so that whenever you want to know what transactions were made on the database, you'll be able to follow it up. So the Dbms must be able to provide or to enable the users be able to transact or to make some transactions on the database. The other very important function, number 4, is the concurrency control services. Remember, the database is being accessed by several individuals. Each of these individuals are the users must be able to, or the Dbms